So welcome everybody to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And today is Wednesday, January the 13th, 2021. And our call-in number is 563-999-3581 and press 1. And that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and questions because it makes this your show. And thank you all, everybody, for holding the space yesterday. It was a little bit crazy in the morning. Had to take my dad to have a tooth extracted. Didn't expect to be as long as we were. And then just before I left my dad to go to got word that my son has COVID. So a opportunity for me yesterday morning. So thank you for keeping Michael busy on the show yesterday as he learned to do the switchboard on his own. It happened so quickly I didn't have time to get a hold of Michelle to see if she could fill in. And thank you, Dr. Tim, for getting him started. And so we'll give Michael just a minute to get in. And I see that we got a couple of hands up with no name beside of them, so I'm going to assume that we haven't turned them on yet. Area code 541. You are on the air. Who do we have?
Yes, Celinda here.
Hi, Celinda.
Good morning, good morning. I also want to be part of your support group, but I haven't emailed you yet, so I will.
Okay. So
just a little resistance to the computer there.
Yeah. Well, you did fine last time.
I know. No, I was just getting on the computer. Once I figured Zoom out, I was into it, but for the meeting. But I just prefer to be outside rather than on my computer. So
I understand.
I'm calling in because I just had some thoughts that might be helpful for Susan because they were very helpful for me. And
okay. Well, Susan
if I might share those.
Sure, she's still on and listening, so I'll turn her microphone back on.
Okay, great. I was very helped by Neal Douglas-Klotz's perception of the Aramaic Gospel in his CD set from Sounds True called The Hidden Gospel, where he explores the whole Lord's Prayer. And that was before I discovered you and Michael in the book, before I got your book. And he really helped me with the Aramaic, with his perception of the meaning of the Aramaic word for God, which was Alaha. And if I'm remembering this correctly, it was all in one, or the one containing the all. And so that was very helpful for me. And his explanation of God is coming from good, from its Germanic roots, which leads to a dualistic religion, one where good is fighting against evil. And as I understood his interpretation, Yeshua's gospel had nothing to do with dualistic religion. It's very non-dualistic, which is one reason I love it, because I'm still there. So when I speak of God, I usually substitute Alaha. And when I want to speak of the Creator, his perception of Abwoon, which was the word he understood to be used for our Father in the Lord's Prayer, and was Abba was substituted for in the Western European Gospel, which Abba was actually an informal daddy, and Abwoon was the word for the Creator, our Father, the Creator. So I'll put Abwoon in for Creator. But I just wanted to share that with Susan in case that was helpful. I also had a couple of other little thoughts. And one was if Susan had ever read the Song of Solomon, because that is a book in the Bible that refers to God's love for his creation. of which we are, his shining
Susan's
jewel.
turned on, so she can answer that for you.
Yeah.
I have read this. I love your answers. Thank you, Celinda. Two thoughts. One is Alaha and Abba and all of those are names, and names put God away from us. And that was my question, is if we are God, then we don't address any being outside of ourselves, nor do we name them in any way. No matter what the meaning of it is, like good or all, it still externalizes God and makes God an other to whom I can speak and from whom I can hear, and I like that, and I've wanted to do that. It's in Hinduism, they make the difference between Brahman and Atman. Brahman is God out there, and Atman is God within. But even then, these are ideas about God, and I've just been lamenting the fact that all of my life I've probably practiced idolatry for sure, because I've projected certain characteristics on God and also externalized God enough so that I could have a conversation with God. And I'm thinking this is now fading away, or should, to some sense of being all one, being that is better than that, or more effective than that, or more true than any kind of externalizing. So that was
what if
one idea. Yeah,
they're both true.
I like that.
The either or, and then that's whenever I get into either or, I know I'm in survival, and whenever I get into either or, I know I'm into this is good, this is bad, or this is better, this is less. And so the thing about making, for me, using God was kind of a reinforcement of my own thinking. And I'm multilingual when it comes to using words with people of different faiths, because I grew up as an evangelical Christian. So I wish I was multilingual in my languaging as I am in this ability to say, okay, what words are they using and how can I interface with them? And how can I keep from insisting that they use Alaha, that sort of thing.
Okay, I want to break in here.
Yes.
I want to break in here. So here's my offering. We're trying to figure it out. The number one pseudo solution to non-being mind is if I could just figure this out. You are never going to figure this out, and words will never speak the truth. Words are symbols of symbols, twice removed from the actuality of what we're trying to do with words. My offering would be take the tools, use them, and create an experience. And it's the experience of that will be wordless. We'll try to talk about it, but for me, trying to explain it is total and complete mental masturbation. Use the tools, come to an experience, and yes, you'll try to talk about it and recognizing the word about means around the outside of, but it'll never come from words. To me, more important is to use the tools so that we live in the experience of that energy in which we live, move, and have our being, whatever we call it. But the minute we name it, we just went one generation away from it. The tools, we give words a power that words don't have. And we're trying to give words the power to tell us the truth. They can't. But they can accurately explain the tools with which to have an experience. And then live in the experience, radiate the experience, and that inspires others to have the experience. That would be my input.
And may I add one thing to what you said, which I think is absolutely spot on. That helped me. I've been wrestling with what it means to understand as compared to knowledge. And I finally, it's not final, there's more, always more. I came across the perception that to understand means to experience on a physical, sensory level the actuality of what I was grappling with. Is that anything close to what you're saying, Michael?
Well, I'm saying take the tools, have the experience. Come into relationship with that in which you live, move, and have your being, and flow and function from that experience.
And all languages, for me, is an aid to help me use the tool, because I have to use the tool within the context of language, but that's not where the experience is.
It's the use of the tools that leads to the experience. And the experience will never be explained. Again,
that's true.
A word is a symbol. A symbol is one generation removed from the thing. We give words a power they don't have. Words cannot ever express what the experience is. What words can do is offer us a set of tools with which to go to the experience. And that'd be my take on it.
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Have the experience. And then you'll turn around and try to explain it to somebody, and you're going to go, "Yeah, I had this awesome experience. It was like, well, you should have been there. Let me tell you, no words. Words can't explain it. But with words, you can tell me how you did it, and if I'm willing to use the tool, then, and I'm in the place where that tool's going to work for me, then I'll have the experience too. Then we'll look at each other and go, wow, we had such an experience. Let's share it with each other." Words. Back to words. So for me, the best use of words is, here's a tool, take it, put it to work, you'll have an experience. And each person, the theologies try to pass on to their children with words instead of inspiring an experience.
So what I hear you saying is
someone cannot lead us to an experience with words that they haven't had. Can't describe for us a set of tools with which to have an experience that they have not yet had. And we hear lots of people who have, and that's where you get people, condemning and talking about a creator that's created this fiery place for eternity and intense fear and they're people who haven't had the experience. I remember back several years ago, I had a preacher who contacted me, and he wanted to use a page of the Kibburis as a cover for a book he was writing for ministers. He was a fundamentalist, hellfire and brimstone preacher, and I forget what age he was, but he was up, in his late 60s, and he had a breakdown. I mean, just a total mental breakdown. And he said that, his favorite book was the Bible, and he couldn't even pick the Bible up and read it for a year. And then after his breakdown, what he referred to as a breakdown, he picked the Bible up, and all of a sudden he said, everything I looked at was about love. It wasn't about any of that stuff that I'd spent decades preaching about. It was about love. And he was writing a book to preachers to try to put into words what he had experienced. And it was, this book isn't about hellfire and brimstone and our fear of God. It's about the Creator is love. And so get to the experience is what we want to do.
And would it be possible to say that every single experience every one of us has is unique to us? And that's why we can't share it?
Go for it.
That's an exciting question, isn't it?
Have the experience and keep it rocking.
And keep it what? Rocking?
Rocking.
Yeah.
Rock and roll in the experience of being the active presence of love and moving in that experience.
Beautiful.
All right, well, do either of you ladies have any other thoughts, questions, answers? Anybody have any extra answers today?
We'll ask the questions instead. How about that?
Well, we have another hand up. Maybe she has an answer.
Well, let's say hello
question.
to our other hand.
Right, or the question. All right. 954, I believe this is Nene. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Hello, this is Nene Ortega. Greetings.
Hey there, young lady. Welcome.
Welcome. Well, I've been following them today, and I think as everybody has experience either on the love side or on the not being side, so it's okay to share either one, because if you are on the love side, then you share and you create more of that true origin energy.
Jeanie, maybe we could mute wherever the typing's coming from. Go for it, Nene. My apology.
So if we have an experience of being loved, and you share it, but you will have always your own experience, but it will be related to that energy, that quality of energy. And if you have an experience of not being, it will be your own experience, but it will be related to the non-being energy, and then you'll have a chance to heal.
Next opportunity to learn forgiveness.
Exactly. Okay, well, as the year started, I've been studying the DVD, The Personal Power and Primary Purpose in Life.
Right.
So I found it, because I've been studying it, half hour, then taking notes and processing it, etc. And I think I went deeper into the teaching, where it says you cannot read the word that you don't have the eyes to see, neither nor the ears to hear. And I think that developing those brain cells it's part of the primary purpose of building a viable conscious body, isn't it?
Yes. I'd offer that's the primary purpose of every human being on the planet.
Yes. And then I got inspired and I created a meditation based on that DVD, and I had it last week in Spanish, because I'm trying to build more of the information, more of the programs and meditations in Spanish for the Spanish community, the Hispanic community.
Awesome.
Yep. So I just would like to read some of the comments after. It was a small group. It was about 20-minute meditation. I did it through Zoom for free. And some of the comments are, some of the experiences are, I felt out of my body. And then the other person thought that she was thinking about her mother. And then she thought about herself and how many goals she had for herself. And it was for her a new concept to realize that it's not the person or yourself, it's the goal that you hold in your mind that triggers and creates the reality. And then when you collapse it,
correct,
you are able to go deep into your issue. So that was pretty cool. and the other person said that she felt something for the first time in her life. It was very nice. And then in general, it was about serenity and the beauty. I believe that they meant that they were being loved. So it was super, I can tell you.
Sweet. Well, maybe, Nene, you could write up a little if you wouldn't mind, write an introduction to that, and where it came from, related to the purpose, personal power, and commitment. And we could put that on the Spanish section of our website, that meditation. Sounds powerful.
Awesome. Yeah, wonderful, yes. So I have another one tonight at 7:30 Eastern Daytime, but it's in Spanish. And then I have discussed this with Dr. Tim, and then eventually I'm going to have also, like that, a short Aramaic meditation based on your meditations in the DVDs and based on the Yeshua's work. And when I have that link ready, I'll be more than happy to forward it to you through the email, and then you can also post it.
Sweet. That would be awesome.
Excellent. And I have a question.
Yes.
In reference to the intensive that is coming up soon, will those classes be kind of like a Zoom class, like a live kind of class?
Well, there are actually going to be two things included in this next intensive. We have recorded the last 14-week Codependence to Interdependence intensive. We created approximately 58 hours of video, live, all of the teaching, all of the processing and interaction between everybody in the intensive. So we're using that as the foundation for this next intensive that will start in about 2 weeks on the 27th of January. It will be another 14-week intensive, and each week participants will get a link to 4 hours of video that will form the foundation of this Codependence to Interdependence Communication Practical Intensive. And then on Tuesday night, they'll do a personal code, of course, to start with, get feedback on what tools to use and where to go with that. Then each week they'll get a link to a 4-hour video from this last intensive. And then on Wednesday nights from 6 till 8 o'clock Eastern Time, we'll have you'll get a link to a 2-hour program that we'll do live with the people in this intensive. So every Wednesday evening for 14 weeks from 6 till 8 o'clock, everyone will be gathered that's in the intensive, and those who were in the last intensive that choose to are invited to be guests, so they'll be there also. And so we'll have a 2-hour live Zoom program each week for 14 weeks, which will create another 28 hours of video. So we'll end up with, each intensive participant will have permanent access to 68 hours of video for this intensive. Did that make sense? Did I get that all in one? Did I understand you might be joining us?
I think so. So far, the Wednesday works for me, and then I'm going to put together other schedule other things that I have, and so far it's like 85% that I may join.
Oh, cool.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let me know sooner. Drop me a text sooner rather than later, because Jeanie's now in the work of putting together the personal code evaluation links, and we want to get those done as soon as possible, because once everybody does their personal code, then Jeanie has quite a bit of work to do with it in order to prepare it, send it out, and we want everybody to have completed. There's a 2-hour video on the personal code evaluation. So as soon as each person does their personal code evaluation. She'll send the feedback with the assignments and the tools to use and a link to that 2-hour video so people will be able to watch it and have a deeper comprehension of what the assignments are and what the evaluation means, plus the first 2 hours of the intensive. So we want to do that as soon as possible for each person so people get a head start on it.
Excellent. Okay.
That'd be awesome to have you there. Cool.
Yes, yes.
Sweet. It'd be awesome to have you have that experience and maybe be able to start passing more of the information from the codependence perspective and the communication to the Spanish community. That'd be awesome. Yes,
I think so too. Okay, so just to see what I'm going to do, I'm going to write what I told you that I did with in the Spanish. I'll send it by email, and then I can even send. I recorded it in Zoom. I can perhaps also send it. I don't know.
Yeah.
If you could, Jeanie, go ahead. She knows more about that than I do.
I was just going to say, if you could, and I don't know how much work it would be for you, but if you could send it in English and Spanish, we'll put it on the Spanish page, but then we'll also put it as a meditation out on the, regular page. And I can take it either as it being written out, or you can send it to me as a MP3, either one, and just send it to my email.
Awesome. Okay, I'll start working on that.
Sweet. All right, young lady, that's awesome.
And then I'll send you back the direct links where it is on the page so that if you want to forward that to people that you work with, you'll have the direct link to send it to them.
Fantastic. And one more thing. This is my 10-year anniversary that I met you guys in Fort Lauderdale.
All right.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? That's been 10 years.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And I'm very grateful. I'm re-empowering myself, revisiting, restudying everything. So I'm very happy. Thank you.
All right. Awesome, young lady. Fabulous. And on our Spanish page, we have the presentation that we did for the group that's doing radical forgiveness, and how the radical forgiveness is based on that video. The interview that I did with those folks is also on our Spanish page. So we're building that Spanish page for the community, and so anything that we can add to it, let's go for it. It'd be just another way for us to create support for every mind, heart, and being on the planet having direct access to forgiveness.
Excellent. Thank you.
Cool.
We actually have 6 worksheets out there that are translated by you. So you are acknowledged as the translator on those.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we keep in touch.
Okay, blessings. Actually, I'm going to call you right after the show. Are you available?
Yes, I'm home.
Okay, I'll call you. All righty. Okay. Awesome. All right, Miss Jeanie, do we have anything else happening in the chat room, or anybody else with a hand up in the phone queue?
No, we have a lot of people on the switchboard today, but there's no questions, no other hands up. There's no questions in the chat room. So this might be a good opportunity. We had a phone call. There's an anonymous person who has committed to $100 a month donation match challenge, asking others to step up, whether it's one person giving $100 a month or 2 people giving $50 or 4 giving $25, or like Michael teasingly said to her, or 100 people giving $1. And she will match that, putting that challenge out for somebody else or other people to get together and step up to match her on that. And we are thankful. All of these donation matches from these anonymous people, so far they've all been met, and that is absolutely appreciated. Thank you, thank you.
2,000% for sure. And what I'd like to do then is step in and let's finish the author's notes from Why Is This Happening to Me again, as we cover the whole energy of that book, which we'll plan to do over the period of the next year. So we're in the second half of author's notes, down toward the bottom of the page, Roman numeral 817. in why is this happening to me again? The scientific method provides a platform, as it were, from which to view the world. Any theory breaks down where its foundation is flawed and becomes provable from within its own errors. There was a time when everyone, quote unquote, knew the world was flat. Thousands died of scurvy years after nutritional deficiency was known to be at least part of the disease, and limes were proposed as a solution. The first physician to suggest that medicine men spread disease with dirty hands was scorned as a fool. Many so-called scientific minds resist change. Scientific convention seems to change only when those with old beliefs die. And of course, the idea of pointing that out is that if we are stuck in old paradigms that are formulated with words that aren't true, that don't reflect truth, then our minds will be limited to perceptions created by that paradigm. And first century Aramaic forgiveness is a way to break those paradigms down so that the mind can be available to be a place where truth is reflected rather than where data from the past and paradigms and beliefs and words from the past are projected. So it's almost like there's competition going on. Actuality is right there, willing to write truth in our minds at any moment. Carbon-based memory jumps in with its content, trying to keep conscious awareness, the mind, filled with its data. And when you realize that there's certain data points based in hostility or fear that bring your mind forward, or certain ways of behaving that have you feel like, okay, now I'm valuable, now I'm worthy, now somebody will notice me, whatever those the underlying dynamics are, as forgiveness is applied, when we're able to step back and become the thinker apart from the thought, the feeler apart from the feelings, the actor apart from the actions that we do, and we can see those patterns, then through forgiveness, those patterns are weakened. And when the patterns are weakened, and literally the emanations from brain cells from the past begin to dissolve, it leaves a clean and open space within the mind. And now truth can start to write its meaning in our minds, and we can come to awareness of that. Of course, then the challenge is that we'll try to filter what truth writes in our minds and bring it down to words. And that's the development of language. And of course, language can only represent the current state of a particular mind. And the words we have are primarily based on what's in common experience. It's pretty obvious if we start from the point, if we have an agreement to start from the point of, I held a newborn child, I experienced what love was, I experienced what a human life is. So when I recognize that a human life is the active presence of love, when we can build language based in that, we're going to tend to create an experience of the truth of who we are continuously. If we recognize that hostility or fear and paradigms based in that come forward, behaviors based in that hostility and fear come forward and are vying for attention, that through forgiveness, and this is the genius of the technology of Yeshua from 2,000 years ago, the genius of applying forgiveness to weaken, quite literally, those emanations from brain cells so that the mind gets quiet, carbon-based memory shuts up. And then there's room for truth to write its meaning in our minds and bring us to awareness. So rather than waiting for old beliefs to die or people who hold old beliefs to die off so something new can come forward, What if we each chose to simply live and live in a space where truth is available to us 24/7, 365, because there's nothing from the past that holds any form of hostility or fear. And we recognize that what's in the mind from the past is a database of information that, when useful, when appropriate, we can call upon and make use of. But rather than it running our lives, what runs our lives is our relationship with truth and the active presence of love. So that we live in a space where only love guides our decisions and behaviors. And forgiveness weakens. Forgiveness is a technology that weakens what's held in the mind that tends to perpetuate the old dynamics. And of course, the skill of letting go of those old dynamics is just one that you just, it comes under the rule of the 3 Ps: practice, practice, practice. So in the author's notes here, I go on to say, you'll hear a lot about the law of love in this book. It is the guardrail on the highway of reason. Information available to a mind is limited by the mindset of the quote-unquote thinker. Do you see all the things you quote-unquote love about a person when anger rears its head? No. We're cut off from our loving thoughts by anger, cut off from the law of love. And of course, the same applies to hostility. The intellect, because of the way our mindset limits availability of information, can quote-unquote logically take you anywhere its foundation is set to go. It can justify anything up to and including murder. Love, as a condition in the mind, inoculates the intellect against foolish and senseless behavior. A lack of awareness of the law of love is the recipe for insanity, because without it, the mind must operate under the rules that produce insanity. The law of love is the only pathway to peace of mind, which is a prerequisite to sanity and happiness. The goal of this work is summed up in the story of a child of 4 who had shown an interest in geography. One day, her mother cut a map of the world out to make a puzzle, thinking it would keep the little girl busy for a few days. 15 minutes after receiving the map, the little girl had assembled the puzzle. Her mother was shocked. She couldn't believe it. How did you put that puzzle together so quickly? Even I couldn't have done that. The girl replied, well, Mom, I noticed when you were cutting up the map of the world, there was a picture of a little girl on the other side. When I put the little girl together, the whole world came together. So this work is about putting ourselves back together with the truth of who we are and removing everything that interferes with that possibility. And we are honored and delighted that you're here to be part of the conversation of bringing those tools forward. And yes, here we are, using words over and over and over again. And I just want to reinforce the idea that you're never going to hear the truth out of my or anybody else's mouth with words. If you got somebody standing up there that says, and this is the truth, turn tail and run, because you will never see the truth spoken in words. The highest thing we can expect from words is that they will give us a description of how to achieve relationship and experience with love, with the truth of who we are, and help in the remembering of who we are. So that's a brief synopsis of where we're going with this work. And Miss Jeanie, do we have anybody else out there with a hand up in the phone? Happening in the chat room. We've got about 21 minutes left.
Well, I am not sure. The switchboard flickered, but I was kind of looking away, so I'm not real sure. I'm going to turn Susan back on and see. Repress 1. So, Susan, did you need to press 1 again?
I didn't mean to, but I'm right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, let's press her into service now that we've got her.
No, that's amazing. I was thinking, how did that little girl turn the map over? I mean, she had the little girl face. I'm thinking she had to be a genius to figure out how to flip that puzzle over.
You're digging too deeply.
I know. It's just I don't have any. I loved your answer, though, Michael. Do the work. That does it. That is absolutely cuts through all the crap.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for that. Because you're absolutely right. So I'm back there, but I have a report.
Oh, tell us.
Yeah,
tell us.
Go ahead. My knee seems to be healed. I have had no pain.
All right.
And so, what you said, I'm applying to a sore shoulder that got sort of wrecked on an ice fall 3 years ago. The wrist was repaired. The shoulder never got back to normal. So I'm talking to my shoulder now. And it's telling me a lot of stuff. So I'll give you a report on that later. That seems like a harder, it's all messed up in there. I've seen the x-ray, So this is going to be mind. I have to retire my mind and my images and go with what you said, which we can do repairs on anything by changing our thinking.
Well, remember that the original image, think of it in terms of a picture. Again, as I talked about yesterday, with the Delaware camera, taking a picture of an acorn, tuned properly, and the acorn, when that picture develops, shows an oak tree, which, sounds ludicrous until you really think about it. Here I am sitting in a room, and if I were in the most primitive of mindsets, I could say, what do you mean there are 1,000 different pictures floating through the room, and there are 10 different symphonies there, and there are 100 different talk shows? That's crazy. And you're right, that's crazy, because to my senses, that's an impossibility. It's not here, but if I turn on a little thing called a radio or a television set, I can start to see and hear all of those things. Those energetic patterns are here. And obviously, if you can't plant an acorn and get a Volkswagen or a tomato or a cucumber, you always get an acorn. That image, that vibratory pattern has to be there. When you recognize that the vibratory pattern of the perfect shoulder is there and available, and it has been overlaid with injury, and if we buy, here's the x-ray, see how bad it is, then we can overlay the perfect with the see how bad it is, and we as creators will tend to perpetuate with the quote-unquote how bad it is. When I can begin to forgive and let go of the interfering patterns, when I can pay attention to and listen to the shoulder and recognize it, and it might take, there's a thing called positional release. You might think about how it is that you fell, exactly. Gee, I was twisted a little bit to the left and I was bent forward, and then my hand hit the ground, and then my elbow and my shoulder. It might take, go into your bedroom and allow yourself to go into that exact posture as you breathe, literally replicating the quote-unquote fall, the accident, and as you let your body go into the exact position it was in when the interfering energy went in, that can be a way to open the gateway for that energy to be released. And as the overlay of energetic interference is removed, then it creates a space where the perfect pattern can take over the reproduction process of cells and such and tissue to produce the perfect shoulder. 2 days ago, I was speaking, and she might be on the show, and she might push 1, I don't know, but I was speaking to, and you've got the support, of putting your hand in the Avicen every day. There's a young lady who started to use the Avicen about 12 weeks ago. This young lady is 78, and she had polio as a child and has had post-polio syndrome. And it's interesting that you're talking about a shoulder, because this is a conversation I had 2 days ago. And so she had post-polio syndrome. She's had 4 joints replaced as a result of that post-polio syndrome. And they had x-rayed her shoulder, and her shoulder x-ray shows bone on bone. The reason they x-rayed the shoulder is because she was at a level on a scale of 1 to 10. She was at a level 10 pain, could not pick up a glass of water to drink it. Her arm was in too much pain, and she shared that if she used her other hand to raise her arm, she could not hold the arm up. It would just fall. So she's been working with and doing the Avacyn for 12 weeks. She now, on a scale of 1 to 10, in her shoulder, and she was dreading, because she's had 4 other joint replacements, she was dreading, they were talking about, we're going to have to replace your shoulder. On a scale of 1 to 10, her pain after 12 weeks is 0. And she comfortably and easily picks up a glass of water and drinks it. Her massage therapist, who has worked on her body for 10 years, last week, one of the places it was impacted was her legs, was working on her legs and said, what have you been doing? Almost all of the inflammation in your legs is gone, and you're building new muscle at 78 from post-polio. So, interesting you bring up shoulder, but she's now at 0 pain level and able to drink and use her arm normally, even though very recently the medicos showed her the x-ray of bone on bone. Now, I don't know, the x-ray might still look like bone on bone. I wouldn't personally go back and get another x-ray. Hey, it's working, I'm leaving it alone. I don't need some authority to tell me, well, that's not possible, it should be doing this. Thank you, I'll pass on that, cancel that thought. I'm going to throw that energetic pattern out and keep the perfect energetic pattern moving and guiding my state of becoming. So what I see happening, the Avacyn is a physical form of forgiveness. It's pushing energy through that vitalizes tissue to throw off what doesn't belong and supports the rebuilding process. So carry forward. I'll hold a space. I'll stand as a space visualizing with you that whatever the injury energetic patterns are that have impacted tissue, you're able to intuitively move and do the work and allow your shoulder to just rebuild.
Great. Love it. That's so hopeful.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%, young lady.
Thanks.
All right. Well, anything else on your mind for today?
No, there isn't. Thanks very much. I'm going to get to work on that, but I'll be listening.
Okay, be holding the space. By the way, the other thing that you might do is as you get into that position, if you decide you want to try that positional release, you might get Tim. You might get Tim to take your arm and ask him to intuitively hold and move your arm into positions that might enhance or facilitate the bone, which is, to me, the antenna of your structure, to get into the right position that allows it to release the energetic patterns that have impacted through the shoulder.
Okay.
So that can be helpful too. And of course, the energy field work. You guys from the intensive have the instruction set on the energy field work, and that can help as you breathe to also process that.
Okay.
Awesome. All right, young lady,
Thanks.
we appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you too,
All right.
boy.
Hey, delighted, honored. It is such a privilege to be on the team.
Thanks. It's totally amazing.
Yay. All right, well, Miss Jeanie, what do you have happening, young lady? Well, before we check on whether there's another call or anything, I'd like to just take a minute with all of the trauma that's going on in the culture, from every perspective, this COVID that's just rampaging through the country, and the political insanity that's rampaging through the country. And just take a moment and call everybody's attention to the state of interconnectedness and love, and that together as a community, that we each hold to that connectedness to love, that we become the space. Even, I shared with you yesterday that Jeanie's son was tested and found that he has COVID. Somebody in his office had a wife who had it. And so, but just to hold the space of active love for each person who's suffering through, and I don't care what side of any discussion you're on, especially the political insanity, whether you're on the middle or the upper or the lower or the left or the right or the center, the left wing and the right wing are wings of the same bird, that we just together hold to presence of active love and recognize that it is only hurt people that hurt people, and that no amount of punishment will ever rectify or correct hurt. It is only the active presence of love that will correct and bring solace to those who are hurting and help to dissolve the hurting minds in our world, of which there are quite literally millions. When any given person chooses to have the courage to really, truly face what it is in them that creates their hurt, then they have the opportunity to give exit to those energetic patterns that create their hurt. When that energy is voided from the system, it is carving out a space for wholeness in the active presence of love to enter into form. And each of us is form in this world. This world was designed to incarnate and become the space where love enters, where being, where created essence enters. It is not designed to work on past patterns and learnings of the past. And so, as you see yourself anywhere that there's any form of hostility, fear, sadness, rage, guilt, grief, hate, fear, drama, trauma, the willingness to go inside and embrace any of those energetic patterns in the presence of love, to bring them forward out of hiding in your own tissue structure. Now, there's a powerful line in what was referred to as the Lord's Prayer that can be properly translated from the Aramaic of, carve out a space in me, Creator, for your wholeness. Each piece of work that we do carves out a space for wholeness to fill in. So knowing that, we've got people all over the globe. Bob's down there in Australia. Fipia is in Thailand. Peter is in Sweden. Darren is in Scotland. People all over the country and all over the globe. That we become the space that can embrace any form of hurt or trauma that we have in the presence of love. Dissolve from the world of form that trauma and allow it to be replaced by the incarnation of active present love. And breathe into that. where you choose to be the presence and allow that active love to be present in every cell of your structure. And where that love incarnates, it links to every other place on the planet where love is incarnated, because love is singular. And as that energy strengthens and permeates the world of pain and trauma, pain and trauma begins its dissolution. So let us see that presence of love in each of us reaching out. Wherever there is pain or suffering, wherever there are disease processes within ourselves or within others. And by joining in this presence of love, we create a network of energy that strengthens the availability of that singular presence of love to flow through every mind, heart, and being on the earth. Those suffering, deprivation, poverty, disease, physical, mental, emotional, financial. Be willing to incarnate that true active presence of love. And by extending and by joining, strengthening the availability of that presence to every mind, heart, and being on the planet. Those who have been acting out in violence in our world, whether it's the wars anywhere in the world or the war that's been happening in Washington, D.C., our own projected hostilities and fears soften and loosen and let go so that love may incarnate and become available to the hurting. The world teaches what we need to do is punish one who hurts another. What Christ's mind would tell you is that punish one who hurts another. What Christ's mind would tell you is that bringing active present love to one that hurts another will dissolve the hurt that motivated the behavior that created more hurt. That punishment will never heal hurt. Doesn't mean we can't hold people accountable. Doesn't mean if people aren't safe in the community that we can't withdraw them from the community. But it does mean that the healing happens, the real healing happens as love is present. So let's just join as a community at this moment in being that presence with and for each other and for the planet. Breathing with you. It's time for what the ancients called the mind of Christ in us to become enlivened and embrace the whole world. I join you in being that presence and creating the best year yet of your eternity.